Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network for magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing well this week. Can you believe it or not, we're already into the second week of February. 2 more weeks, we're already into March, and it's like, oh my goodness, the first quarter of the year is almost over. Can you believe how fast it goes? But I'm really excited. It's been such an amazing time frame the last few weeks. We just got done publishing the physical book, The Art of Connection, 365 quotes, inspirational quotes of entrepreneurs, business owners, and influencers. I almost forgot that. I got so excited here. But this book, it's already gone international 17 times. It's a best-selling book in many different countries and in many different categories. And so we're really happy about this book. We have 286 different, I believe it's 246 different authors in this particular book. We didn't quite have as many first-time authors as the first book. The first book, The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Networking Quotes. This book here had 122 first-time best-selling authors in this particular book. So we have 2 in the series. And we have we're lucky enough to have a 3rd book coming out, and we're already starting to promote it. So we will talk a little bit more about that in the show. But if you'd like to learn more about the book, you can go to this link here. I'll put it across the screen. Let me see. One of these links will go across the screen. There it is. It is mybook.to, Art of Connection 2. So mybook.to, Art of Connection 2, you just type that in there, and up comes the second book that's in print with the Art of Connection Movement 365. Also, if you would like the printed version, I think that we have a new link coming out, but you can go to mybook2/Art of Connection print, so you can get the special pricing on the print book. I think it goes up to $25 or $35. I think it's $15 right now. So please do that. Also, I want everyone to know we just had our big book premiere a couple of weeks ago. We had, through the course of 2.5 hours, over 200 people came to our book premiere. I just wanted to let you know that you can reserve your page. You can reserve your page by going to 365 Days of Transformational Quotes.com. Yes, that is the new book, 365 Days of Transformational Quotes. You can get it at 365 Days of Transformationalquotes.com. We have an early bird special, $147 for a random page. What a random page means, all it means is let fate pick your date. You don't know where you're going to be in the book. But you know what? We also have another date, a reserve date. If you'd like to get a reserve date, you can certainly reserve your page in the book. It's $197 right now. That page is regularly $550. That's the retail rate. So take advantage of these early bird pricings. Reach out to one of our members, reach out to me, maybe some of our contributing author partners will reach out to you. It's a great way to find your credibility, to become a best-selling author, and get to know each other. I mean, in this book, one of the things that we teach in networking is becoming relatable with each other. Well, what better way to have something that's relatable when you're a part of a movement together? The belief that connections are the first step towards rewarding relationships that create profitability for both partners. And I'm really proud to be a part of this Art of Connection community. Also, I want to remind everyone that we have ntevents.net. ntevents.net. We have academy classes. We have our chapters and meetings, our events, radio shows, and so much more. So you can go to ntevents.net. That's our short code to our calendar. And if I'm just a little bit goofy and off today, I'm going to come clean. I just had surgery yesterday. And so, I may not be able to walk, but like I told Char and Shasta before we got on today, I said, but I can still talk. It may not be as coherent as I'd like to always be, but the main thing is I'm here, you're with me, and we're going to have a great time today. And before I move on to anything else, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on my first guest today, because I could talk all day, but I don't want to do that because I want to leave a little bit of time for Shar Mccready, who's coming on as my first guest today. Hi, Shar.
Hi, Robert. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. I love it. I always feel like, man, fuchsia's the color. Fuchsia is the future, is it not?
Absolutely.
And
Nails match.
Yeah. Well, my nails don't match. They'd be black again if they were. But my wife may not like that too much. She said, "Black nails, don't be doing that." Although she wants to put some clear coat on me, but I'm like, "No, honey, I'm okay. I just go all natural. That's the way I roll." But we are both akin to each other. And it's really funny because we've known each other, but we've never got to grow in with each other with enough conversations, and that's why I'm really excited about having you on today, because both of us are vets.
Yes, sir.
Both of us have been in the trenches. Both of us have served our country. And I'm always honored when I have someone who comes onto the show who served their country, they served it well, they get discharged honorably. And it doesn't stop there. I mean, I was a Marine for 6 years, but it never stops our service, does it?
No, it does not. That is correct.
And the thing is, people like you and me, we're always looking for that next place to serve others. Sometimes it may be helping other women leaders. Sometimes it may be helping people get past mental blocks. Maybe sometimes it's, just getting people to find their voice. And that's what I love about you, Shar, is you help people, find their voice. You help them find their prosperity. You help them find, their own passions and convictions. But see, you do it with principle. And one of the things I say so much of the time is passion without principle is just criminal. Because it's great to have a passion, but you can be a passionate crook. And so, so that's great. I've had those opportunities come and go where you see the passion, but there's not the principle. And I'm always, and so to me, being a military vet and serving my country and being a church, youth minister, etc. I always feel like, if a person has passion, the next thing I look for principle, and I believe that you do that too. I always follow you in your life journey on all the changes you've made, and remade and retooled and done life pivots. And, here I'm saying you're a rock star, and I appreciate you. And, and I appreciate you believing in what we do. But, I'm not here to talk about the you now. I want to kind of go back a few steps and start going on like the young Shar, the Shar that was like looking upward into the world and saying, what's life going to be? What was your family like? Where were you born? What were your interests, and maybe some oddities that we just don't know about you, Shar? Tell us a little bit about those first formative years.
Well, that is definitely a loaded question, Robert. I am, where could I go with that? So I was actually born and raised in North Glen, Colorado, which is just north of downtown Denver. Raised there my entire first 16 and a half years of life until I entered the service. And back then, wow, my calling, I really felt.
Wait, I gotta stop you. Wait, did you say 16 and a half years of life?
Yep, that's when I entered the military.
Okay. I'm going to remember that. So that was, you beat me. I was 17 years old when I did a delayed entry. So 16 and a half, that's knowing what you want to do pretty quickly.
And only because I graduated high school early, because I knew what I wanted to do. I worked really hard to work with my principal and the school system to let me get done early. So I graduated high school in 2 years so that I could go. And I turned 17 within the first 90 days of being in the service. And so they allowed my parents to sign me in because I was not old enough to sign the paper myself. Had to be 18 to do that, as you know. And my calling to serve, Robert, actually came in first grade. There was a very defining moment in first grade. And apparently, as the story is told to me, I came home that day and put my hand up on my hip and cocked my hip to tell my parents with my finger shaken that I was going to do one of two things. And I was going to go to that school down the road, AKA the United States Air Force Academy. And I was either going to be a doctor or fly planes or both. And that is exactly what I did. So at that point in my early years, everything in my schooling life, teenage life was all about, am I doing the right things to help the academy say yes to me?
And that really is interesting to me because, having a flight plan, really having a flight plan, I say is having the right plan. You have to put all the pieces away. And in so much of the time we hear, and we talked about this a little bit, it's about the driving of passions. And I hear a lot about that, and you hear a lot about that too. But passion without direction is really, motion without direction. And if you don't plan, you many times you fail, don't you?
Absolutely.
And to be that age and start to know, there has to be some other inspirations in you. I guess it's like, at 16 years old or even in first grade. I mean, did you have some role models in your life? Did you have people in your life that said, that you look to? Or is this something that it's like it just drops from the sky like an egg and it just goes crack and all of a sudden it just goes into you? There's not a lot of people who really know what they want to do at that young of an age.
I know. I get my kids tell me that all the time. I have 4 children, ages 21 to 31, and they remind me, we're not like you, Mom, all the time. And my father served. I have a long lineage of military service in my family, but by the time I was coming up as a child, all of them had well done their service and were in regular civilian life. And actually, it wasn't even talked that much of at the time of my childhood. I just was always fascinated with the idea of flying and jumping out of airplanes and what did that mean as far as military service. I was a history buff, absolutely loved the history of World War II and Vietnam. And it was really in that World War II era, Robert, I would say that my inspiration probably came as my maternal grandfather was from a very large family, 9 brothers, and all 9 of them served in all theaters of World War II.
And that's so amazing because in my generation and then generations afterwards, we're losing that, what we call that greatest generation, that great generation that really gave up their lives. And we didn't have the news networks, and we didn't have the social media, and we didn't have all those things to really see what the tragedy of war really looked like. And I mean, there was women, and men, giving their lives for a greater cause. And I think it was, the greatest, cause probably in almost human history, I would say. And I think, in this day and age, we really don't pay enough patronage to what they accomplished and what we have now. I mean, when we talk about the freedoms that we have in our life, it really is due to that generation. We didn't have nuclear bombs. We didn't have world destruction. I mean, they had to really do it eye to eye, belly to belly, bayonet to bayonet, to get our future secured. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. That is no more of a true statement. And I'll never forget, actually, my grandfather told me I was been in the service a few years. And this one particular day, he decided on when I was on leave visiting that it would be my education day about his service. And I look back now and I'm so very grateful because I had really no idea what that era for him and his brothers was all about. And he shared with me how crazy it is to be able to look, across the bow of a ship or down a field, and you can see that other human being, just like I'm looking at you right now, Robert, knowing that they have a cannon or a gun pointed at you. And fast forward a little bit, and I'm sure we can get there. But when that actually happened to me in my real life service, I had a completely elevated appreciation for my grandfather and all of the generation that served in World War II.
And I think there's something so much about, war, and in certain ways it has been glorified over the years, but there's so many other things, Shar, I think about. I think that was really the first time, and I think in our American history, that women started coming into the workplace and they started showing that, we had very strong, powerful, motivated, committed women, in the United States at that time. I mean, there was Rosie the Riveter, and she was a true pioneer, yes, of having women come into our workforce. And I think the growth has been phenomenal ever since. I mean, I even look at my grandmother. She was the first woman, she's Hispanic, Mexican, of American of Mexican descent, that started a labor union. My mom was the first Mexican woman, of Mexican lineage to get a PhD. And I look in my history, having a single mom, and seeing the strength that you have. We also have a whole new generation, Shar, of young men that have been raised by single females who put on the boots, they put on the hard hats, they are their own entrepreneurs, they are working their jobs, they are training them, not how to just bring in the paycheck, what they call it, bring in the bacon and sizzle it up in the pan, they're, how to do the home economics of a house. And I think we're just raising a whole new army of entrepreneurs, not just with women, but we have this whole new man coming out, don't you think?
I think there's definitely something changing. There is no doubt. The dynamics of the life experience and the childhood is very, very different. And while I believe some of it is really good, I believe we also have lost something as this greatest generation begins their heavenly transition. It's a very interesting time in human documented history, for sure.
And I love that you say that, because it's something that we need to keep documenting. We need to keep having those stories. And even our Vietnam vets are starting to pass now as well.
Absolutely.
And with each and every time they do, a little bit of history goes. But see, that's what's so interesting about serving in the military and understanding, the potential for war, or being in war, and also, even being on a farm. Entrepreneurs, it's like there's a difference between a true entrepreneur, because there's never an out. There's never no in any option. It's always about not, I can't do it. It's about how can I find a way to do it? And, either it be me or someone else. Now, when you work with your clients and you're the owner of Fly with Shar, you kind of teach and train and you lead people into this whole new thinking, don't you?
I do, actually, and it's an inside out kind of job from many different aspects of who we are as a human being creature. For sure. And that just comes from my background in medicine, primarily emergency medicine initially, and then have transitioned more to a holistic approach, as well as the physical transformation. And all of that really has to begin right here. We have to start with the thoughts that we think and be aware of the tools that we have and how to use them.
Well, and I think, one of the things is when you work in a traumatic environment, I mean, I myself, I've been shot at, and I still remember the time I was shot at. It was almost surreal. The moments afterwards, it seemed like it was years of time. And I was fortunate because I had a canteen on the side, on my utility belt, and it was hooked there. And the canteens are made of pretty solid metal, those military.
Yep.
And it shot right through my canteen, but it didn't go out the other side. Now I had a big blast mark of red there, and I had to go to the sick bay and whatnot to recover, for a little bit. But I still remember thinking, wow, what a small price to pay to what other people pay, But the reason why I keep going back to this feeling of serving and this feeling of entrepreneurship is I think in certain ways in our lives now, entrepreneurs, some of them don't have the sense of real duty that they have provided over time in this country. This country wasn't built on corporations. This country was really built upon entrepreneurial mom and pop businesses, getting up and working their own community, serving up dollars to and from each other and employing other people within that community. And I think that that's what I like about what you and I do. I call it the Hamburger Stack. You have the CEOs and the C-suite people on top, and you have the startups in the middle, but you have this whole entrepreneurial middle class that I kind of want to bring back. We need more people to just go out there and just, do it, don't we?
100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100 Yes, and that is exactly where my passion, and you nailed it, Robert. I mean, that is
Yeah.
where my passion came from as I grew up out of the military and thought, what is it that I really want to do? And what I realized is that I just learned to use some tools that my life of service in the military and the different experiences I had that went into my belt. And then when I examined them, really, I believe so many of those tools we each have. It's just that most people can't see them for themselves or don't even know how to use them. And so that is the process, one piece of it that I help my clients through to really help them understand that their story, their journey, and maybe their skill set as well can bring something to the market that needs to be filled, the gap that needs to be closed.
Well, and it's like, you have up there, I know that I know you as Fly with, Fly Far of Shar, but, with the Warrior Women, but this Warrior Women process, it works for anyone, men as well.
Absolutely.
It, and I say that because my mom used to say to me, about society, she's like, it's not a man thing, it's not a woman thing, it's a person thing. And the sooner that we resolve that, the sooner we can all move forward with velocity. And I always loved that about her because she just stripped everything apart, and she's like, everything basically comes down to a certain a certain tool of, there's logic, and there's planning, and there's strategy, and there's, working together, and, intelligence knows no sex, and I've learned that from my mom. And so, so one of the things I want to talk about is right now, before we go to the book, is because I really want people to know, when you talk about a tool belt, it's almost like you help individuals see where they're at by creating a scorecard that you can kind of define and start, creating factors to kind of refine them so they can start getting more velocity. Tell us a little bit about how you track that.
Okay. Well, I have obviously a little bit of a scorecard. That's a great description. And I really break it down into three main things. And
Mhm.
it's about decision, the tool of decision, the tool of muscle building, and I'll come back to that in just a second. And then at the end, the tool of perseverance. Now, there's a lot of sub tools, right? Complementary tools that go in those categories. And at the end of the day, what I've learned from my own journey on my personal health journey, as well as in the military and being a human and entrepreneur and a mom and a wife and all those things, is that we first have to decide. We get to decide how we show up, what we're bringing to the marketplace, all of those things. And the root word of decide is side. And that means to cut off, to leave no other options. And I think for so many of us, and veterans included, because it's a hard transition for a lot of us coming out into this world that's way different than what we got used to inside the system, if you will, is we have to decide exactly what we're going to go after and be okay with going after it. But we don't need to waffle, because if we leave too many options, then I don't believe a lot of progress or value is brought at the level that it could be. Right?
Well, oh yeah, and the other things I see in with that is, in how I was interviewing the process of you, coming on this show is, I was seeing it with this is, you advocate strong body, you advocate strong mind, and what that does is it installs a strong spirit. And I think that you do a lot of that, and that's that flying component, because I truly believe, I always say you have to have your heart set before you can, work on your mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
once you work on your mindset, then you can get to your skill sets. But, in a way, Char, what you do is you help lead people through, also kind of retooling and redefining, reshaping, and re-energizing, people's spirits. Because if they don't have strong spirit, I mean, even the body and mind can fail, can it?
Absolutely. And that's where this process goes, is that, I always say muscles aren't just built in the gym, because we have different muscles that we have to build, our mindset muscle, right? Not just our physical ones. The muscle of perseverance then shows up, and many other ones. And it's in that persevering, we practice the decision that we made and the muscles that we're building. It's in the persevering of where the creation actually happens of whatever it is exactly that individual is after. And I always have believed that life is never a solo sport. It's meant to be created and lived together, and the impact that we can make together, whether it's 2 people or it's 200 people, is always going to be way better and way bigger than anything any of us could ever do on our own, no matter how gifted we are in a certain area.
Absolutely. You and I are going to get on an hour show one time so we can get into some more depth of this. We're going to have fun, right?
Sounds great. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So, I want to circle into the book. You're one of the contributing authors that in Art of Connection book. And, I know a lot of times, there are a lot of books there, especially not a lot of community books like that, but there's a lot of contributor style books. There's writing your own books. There's getting in magazines. There's a lot of ways, for an entrepreneur to be a part of something bigger. But you picked this as one of your tools, one of your parts to do something bigger. What was it about this book that kind of made you resonate with the concept, The Art of Connection?
Well, I loved the subtitle of it, right? Is we're here to inspire entrepreneurs and inspire people. And last year, when all of this was unfolding about collecting the authors for the book and inviting us to join, I was coming through my own transformation and had to inspire myself and had to look for my divine higher power to be inspired as I was healing from a brain tumor that I didn't know I had. And so that the date of October 1st, I have a couple of pages or chapters in the book, but that's page 274 is the second one, became etched for me. That's my new birthday. And that was the day that my daughter actually saved my life because she wasn't working and found me non-responsive here in our home in Scottsdale. And had she been working that day on set or working her full-time job, I wouldn't be here interviewing with you today. And so it was that experience when I saw the title. I've known you and Sean for quite some time in different ways. I thought this is just really in my intuitive spirit. I knew it was the time to step forward into that. And I'm so excited for what's to come as well.
And what I like about it, I say, it brings together like-minded, heart-centered entrepreneurs. And there is a whole different vibe and tribe that's being built from this, isn't there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's great. I love it.
So I picked out 109,
Okay.
and because I always wanted to be a poet. Believe it or not, when I was 5 years old, I was always going to be a poet. I've been a published poet back before there was like Amazon. So I don't know where all the books are that I was published in. But yeah. And in San Diego, when I lived there after I got out of the military, I actually threw poetry slams. And you get up and have open mic and do interpretive poetry and whatnot. And you alliterated on your quote in 109. And your quote was, "Impossible is a lie thy brain wants us to believe."
Mm-hmm.
The word itself says, "I'm possible." And I thought,
absolutely.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you talk about, think of eating your favorite meal or watching one of your favorite talents, or perform their best. Tell us a little bit about, why does this quote resonate in your personal life?
Oh, wow. That's a really big question. Really loaded. I think, since I've retired from the service in 2007. And so this journey through civilian life and really getting into entrepreneurship in all different kinds of ways. I had started being an entrepreneur a little bit in my service time. It's been a whole new going to school for me. And many, many, many times people say, "Oh, that's impossible. You can't do that. That's impossible." I've never believed that. If someone has done something similar before me, it means it's possible. And if we many times just pause and step back enough and look at the words themselves, the answer is hidden right there. So if you break up the word impossible and put a space between each of those letters, guess what? You come up with a sentence. I
am possible. I love it. Oh my goodness. Well, my dad always told me, he never was in the service, but I will remember this. He said, just because it hasn't happened before doesn't mean it's not needed or necessary. And I think that that's what impossible means.
Yep.
And that's what entrepreneurship is. I want to, Daniel, thank you. Another fellow vet is here from Integrity. I want to get that right. Integrity Media. He's here with us, as is Jennifer Farrar and Dr. I only can see so many people on here, but I just want to do a shout out to Dr. Laura Cobb and Jennifer Farrar, members of the network and everything. But the question that you leave here is like, the question is, how can you show up uniquely to help another realize that they too are full of possibility?
That's right.
And that really is what this book is about. It's giving your best quote and deepening it with your thought and having a question that each and every person can answer. And how incredible is that?
It's great. And I know from myself, many of my mentors could see in me that before I could see it myself. And so again, it comes back to that teamwork thing. If we can help one another, just realize we're each full of possibilities that are unique and gifted, and the marketplace needs to experience that, then we're all winning together. And that for me is what it's all about. I've won sports championships, world class. I've been a world class athlete. I want every human being to experience what that really intrinsically feels like to be living life at that level.
Well, you and I need to talk more, because you don't know this, but I set the Marine Corps record in sit-ups.
Right on.
I know. Can you believe that? So it was 117, and I went there. I did 121 in 120 seconds, and I set the Marine Corps record in sit-ups. And I used to run track. But this is, before we go, and I'm going to let you, like, how can people find you? I have your information scrolling across the screen. One thing I like to say, and it's going to be in the third book, is when I was young, it was all about winning. But as I've gotten older, it's all about succeeding, because when you win, there can only be one, but when you succeed, you can take everyone who wants to come with you.
Amen. Yes.
And that's what's been the biggest difference. So Shar, thank you so much for being on the show today. There's other ways that people can find you. I have your telephone number. I have an email. How else can people find Shar Mccreadie?
Well, I am also on Facebook under the same name that's on the screen, and I'm on LinkedIn as well at Fly Far with Shar, and LinkedIn and Instagram as well. So I trust me, I'm the only one with this beautiful hot pink hair. So look at the profile picture first.
I'm telling you, fuchsia is the future. How's that?
Hey, that works.
Well, again, thank you so much, Shar, for being on the show today. I can't tell you enough. We just got to hang out more, and we can talk that military geek speak that we all love to talk, right?
And right, our familiar lingo.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break, and then I'm going to have Shasta Broadus. I just want to let everyone know that I am with Shar Mccreadie. She is Fly Far with Shar, and she is the ultimate warrior woman. Thank you again, Shar, for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Robert. Appreciate it.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
All right, everyone. I was with the one, the only, the Miss Shar Mccreadie. It was so nice to have her on the show today. A military veteran like myself, serving in her country and still serving her others in the greatest of capacity. She is with Fly Far with Shar, and also the Warrior Women. So I'm very happy with her today. But oh man, you know what? I have another wonderful guest coming on, and she is a superstar in her own right. She deserves all the applause and accolades that a person can get. Just walking across that stage, you will know who she is. She is going to be everywhere, which she already is. I give you Shasta Broadus. How are you doing, Shasta?
Hey, Robert, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me today.
Well, I'm excited that you are here today. I mean, it's so wonderful. I mean, I still remember the first time I picked up that phone and I'm dialing your number and I'm calling out to you, and you never know what you're going to get, right? Life is like a box of chocolate, you know? And so, you know, I had this business coach, and that business coach said to me, well, you know, you got over, 3,000 followers in LinkedIn, And he goes to me, have you ever talked to any of them? I said, no. I said, I haven't. He's like, well, what good is 3,000 people on LinkedIn if you've never talked to them? It's great that you're friends, but start some conversations. And so I started doing that, and I started taking one person and two people, and I started learning a little bit more and more about LinkedIn until it started growing so much. I had to hire someone to start helping me look for people that I wanted to find in LinkedIn. And we sat down and we were like, oh, I'm gonna reach out to Shasta. I got to reach out to Shasta. She's even in Arizona, where I'm located in, so she has to be somewhat of a maverick. Come on, we're in Arizona.
Absolutely.
And so I remember our first call. We were like, yeah. And we were like, yeah. And we were like, you bet. And we were like talking about business. We were talking about our local area, and we were talking about passions of people. And I mean, what we wanted for them, and how we just want people to grow and glow. Remember?
Yes, absolutely. I really remember.
So we came with that one. We talked about the book, and you said, you know what, I want to be with a tribe. I want to be a community, who believes in the power of connection, who believes in the power of opportunity, and who believes in it, in what we called it, I called it the Hamburger Stack with you, that entrepreneurial middle class, which really seems to be getting the short end of the stick right now. It's like I was talking to Char earlier. It's like they concentrate on the top part of the bun. They concentrate on the bottom part of the bun, but everyone else, where is it? Where is that opportunity for the emerging entrepreneurs? And that's what I really appreciate about you, Shasta, is you work with those entrepreneurs who have gotten to the point of profitability, and you help them with expansion, and you help them with scalability. And we'll talk about that a little bit, because you have one magic word that I don't hear enough. And we talked about that before the show, and I'm going to bring it up again on the show. So, just like Shar, what I want to do is I want to go backwards to go forwards. Where are you from? What were your parents like? Did you have brothers and sisters? Was pink your favorite color? Stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about our fuchsia, right? Tell me a little bit about the early days.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. So I'm actually a Midwest girl. I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, and my parents moved to San Diego, California when I was 5 by way of the Navy. So I'm sure, just like everybody, right, the military, got them to their next level in life. And so we got to California, which was always a dream of my father's, was to get out of Indiana. So, he accomplished his goal, and he still lives in San Diego to this day. But I moved to Arizona, 5 years ago, and I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Even when I was younger, I read the Babysitters Club books. I'm not sure if you know about those books, Robert, but as a teenager, there was a series called The Babysitters Club, and I love to read. Like, I read R.L. Stein. I read so many different people growing up, Mary Higgins Clark. But the Babysitters Club, it had like a sequence of events that was easy to follow as far as like starting a business. And I was like, I'm babysitting, I can set appointments and, basically manage a calendar to basically be on time. And so I lived in an apartment complex at the time, and I was 13. And I had a couple girlfriends that lived in there as well. And we had a laundromat, a community laundromat. And I put a sign up. Put the little slips in the bottom so people can pull the number and call us. And so I was essentially taking those calls to book appointments in the apartment complex for people who wanted somebody to watch their kids after school or for date night, and then things of that nature. And so that's pretty much how my entrepreneurial journey got started. I did well until it was time for me to run track. I started playing sports and things of that nature. So that kind of ended up taking up more of my time. But essentially, that's where I was like, okay, I can create something. There is something out there for me to do to help others, which I've always had that type of heart to be helpful.
Yeah, it's funny you say you lived in Indiana. I remember my dad went to Notre Dame and for graduate school, so I was just a little baby. But the only thing I remember about South Bend, Indiana, it was the coldest place I'd ever known, because it's right on that water there, and it's just like, it's cold, but then there's the wind that comes right up. What is it? Lake Michigan?
Michigan. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just remember, boy, cold wasn't for me. That was not in my DNA. There was no cold in this deal.
Right.
This body needed some charcoal going on or something, some hot things going on. But I mean, so you went in a track, and did you go to school? Did you go to college, or did you just said, my athletic career is over. I'm going to start. I don't know. You went from that to selling track shoes. I don't know, but you went from babysitting. I know you had to do something there. I mean, there had to be some little thing there.
So
tell us about that transition. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I was in school. I ended up graduating early. Did go to college, to community college. I was running track there for a little while. I didn't get any scholarships, unfortunately, but I essentially was like, what am I going to do for work? And so my mother, she directed me to medical field, like, oh, the medical field's a good industry. There's always going to be jobs in the medical field. And so my first certificate, was a medical administrative insurance specialist. And that was just doing prior authorizations and referrals, for doctor's offices and things of that nature. So that was the start of my insurance business or career that I didn't even really realize and know about. That was just the beginning. But then I ended up getting married, had kids. I was a stay-at-home mom. I went to school, got my psychology degree. While I was in school, I was working at Nordstrom's. Love Nordstrom's. Nordstrom's is my I always shout out Nordstrom's. That was one of my favorite jobs that I ever had. And while I was there, I pretty much was just polishing up my sales skills, honestly. Being on the floor there, having my own personal style. They have one rule, which is use your best judgment. And essentially that was something that always just stuck with me. And here I am today after going through my insurance career. I was in financial services. And then I became an entrepreneur coming out of financial services. And so I was a client relationship manager, educating medium-sized enterprises regarding business succession planning. And so business succession planning, for those who may not know, is basically what happens to your business when you're no longer able to run it any longer. Who is the successor? What's the plan for you to transition out of your business, whether you become sick, disabled, or, you pass away? So that was something I was really passionate about, because that's when I seen like, wow, this is why the mom and pops, like you mentioned earlier, are not sustaining and they're not living and thriving, is that they are missing that piece of knowledge to keep their business running. And so it became my passion to be.
Yeah, I remember you and I talking about that. Yeah, and remember we were talking, and that was like one of the glow sticks, and I'm glad you got to that, because I said, how you were like, so well, how did the book come about? And and I remember saying, and I said, well, do you have time for a story? And you said you did. And I said, well, let me tell you the story. It started with a conversation with my son, who was 13 at the time. And he said, you old people got it all wrong. And I'm like, what do you mean us old people got it all wrong? And that's what you caught, was the knowledge. And he said, because every time you guys talk about legacy, you talk about it in the form of stuff. And he's like, shouldn't you talk about it in the form of knowledge? Because knowledge is far more important. And I think when we started talking about that, it was just like, you know what? That is my belief system. That is the clarity I want to give to those mid-sized businesses, so they can either pass it on, or they can pass it forward. And I think that is very important to understand what that looks like for people.
Absolutely. And I love to talk about it, because I am a visionary, and I like to plan, and I like to strategize, and I like to be a resource and provide direction. Those are all of the skill sets that I utilize when I'm consulting or being a business coach or life coach or whatnot, and essentially just helping them see the bigger picture. Why are you here? What are you doing your business for? I mean, I know you want to make money, obviously. Don't get me wrong. Everybody has to sustain their family. But what are you doing to make a difference in the community? I'm really trying to help them understand how their business can either be acquired, right, or merge with a bigger company if they decide they want to sell, or they're going to create a legacy and they're going to be a brand like Amazon or Walmart or JCPenney's or, Wells Fargo, and be something that's longstanding and everlasting because they actually have a plan.
Yeah. And, and when you're talking about, businesses in these capacities, I mean, it doesn't need to be that, so corporate as that. I mean, you're even talking about, the family businesses that are even, in geographic areas that are just really community based, serving each other. And one of the things that you and I talked about in community was, it's not having businesses start thinking they're not a part of that community anymore.
Right.
It's about creating businesses that have a culture that they're always a part of that community. And that's something that you and I talked about as well.
Right. And that's what we have to do to help people be better stewards, right? And helping them understand how they are making the impact in the community. Really being able to help them understand and see when you provide jobs and you're providing a service and you're connecting with other businesses in that community to make a larger impact, to work together. I mean, essentially, that's what the corporations have done, right? They have those strategic partnerships with other organizations that get pretty much, double down on what their message is. I mean, at this time, it might be propaganda, but at the end of the day, essentially, we have the same want, right? And we're working with the same type of people. And how can we support each other in that? And that's what I want to bring back to the community.
Yeah, and about being a part of the community is something else that I think that you bring. And it's your talent, it's your knowledge. And I'm going to say this because there's two things that you have on here. One of them that you said, and you brought up the word retail. And for so many people, retail, and I know I was a retail person myself. I worked for iMagnin, I worked for Dillard's, I worked for Chanel, I worked for Macy's. When you work in those higher level retail boutiques, and I never got to work for Nordstrom, although I knew Nordstrom well because I'm originally from Texas. So our Nordstrom's very strong there. But one of the things you do is everything is about the essence of the relationship with your client when it comes to high-end retail, is it not?
Yes, absolutely. That's all it's about.
I mean, and the thing is so many times as entrepreneurs, we sometimes focus a lot on our service and our products, but we don't focus on the very people we serve, do we?
Absolutely. Well, and I love the art of connection because I feel like people have lost that personal touch, which is what I help business owners pretty much realize. You have to have personal touch. You're not, a big corporation where you can hide behind your business. You have to get in front of your business. You are your business at this point. And so your personal touch has to be on par.
Yeah. And I always like to say, never let technology erase your touchology. Keep that touchology.
That's a good one.
Keep it, because I was a former programmer, I worked retail, but a lot of the retail I did was actually, creating different, programming softwares for retailers as well,
Nice.
Being on the floor. And I did that with TurboTax and I did that with Intuit back in the day. So I have a lot of experience with these companies, and the thing is it really is all about resonating, with the people that you serve and understanding their language and understanding the attributes that they have and, creating touch points that do all that. And
That's
for a
right.
lot of entrepreneurs, we're not trained in that. But see, one of the things that you say in your business is you call it a triple threat, but what I see in your triple threat is I say, you focus on marketing, you focus on a financial, but see, this is where I'm telling you, Shasta, this is where you and I just dig each other because, and it goes back to the retail part because you put in manage. Do you know how many times I hear an entrepreneur talk about manage in any given year? I could probably count it on less than 5 fingers on my hand. I mean, management is not just managing processes, and automation and technology. Management is the most important asset of all, and that's the ability to communicate and manage people, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. And it's something funny that you're bringing that up because it's almost like you have to become like a trusted advisor. I'm end up being in a liaison or a conduit, right? And so people begin to divulge lots of things because they're trying to manage and they need help being able to understand what they're working with, and what they have. And so helping people pretty much get in control of their life, essentially, so that they can control their business. And once you are able to do that with these conversations and communications, right, you are able to become a better manager, and people respect you and really appreciate you, for being able to help them handle things that are going on in their sphere.
Yeah, I'm putting your information across
Oh,
right
yeah,
now
do
so
that.
people can see it. Because I got so excited with Shar and bringing you on, I didn't get that on the first time when you came on, so I'm putting it on just a little bit,
Thank
you know,
you.
right now. But coming from San Diego, having a degree in psychology, I think you come from a whole different mechanics that a lot of, you know, I'm telling you, a whole
Yeah.
bunch of different mechanics
Mhm.
that a lot of entrepreneurs, need, because so much of the time, and I say this a lot, Shasta, so much of the time entrepreneurs work on what they do, but they don't work on the who they are and the who they do it with.
That's right.
Really, that is the other thing I never say. I go, I say, why do you need to sharpen the saw? Is because we work on so much on what we do and not enough on who we are, but we also don't work enough on nurturing who we're with when we do these things. Again, it goes back to those touch points. It goes back to, the follow-up. It goes back to, am I assessing and addressing the needs in such a way that
Yes.
I become a valuable part of their life, where I call it being on the pick up the phone team.
Yes. I mean, I think people start to understand when you are living your life intentionally. You show up differently. You react with people differently and engage with them in a different way. And that's really what it's all about in my eyes, and helping other entrepreneurs get the clarity so that they can begin to be intentional as well. I'm very picky about where I spend my energy at. Energy is very expensive, and essentially helping other entrepreneurs reel that in, right? Because we're getting zapped of our energy without even knowing it. And so basically being able to help them understand how to reel that energy in so that they can be more intentional, so they can be more present, so they can be more thoughtful, and they'll get better results as well.
Oh, by far. I mean, energy is not inexhaustible. I don't care what anyone says. You only have so much time. You can only get so much money. But I'm telling you, energy is the one thing that you can grow, but it only can go up to a certain point. And I say the only time that people will put more energy into anything is if they have a belief in that thing. I mean it, because if I don't believe it, I can't conceive it. I'm certainly not going to do it. I mean, that's just how it each and every time, but I want to save enough time to go over the book a little bit, because I can talk business all the time, because we're going to keep on going. Yeah, but just like I asked with Shar, we got to talk a little bit, and we talked about community and the importance of business and the importance of legacy and succession planning and the importance of people, and you talked a little bit, about how connection is important to you. What were some other contributing factors that made you feel like, I want to be a part of a community that believes similar things to me? You're aligned in such a way. It's providing hopefully some clarity to others. Tell us what made you jump into this crazy world.
Essentially, I just want to be able to help others, and I want to be able to be with other people that have the same mission and vision. I'm definitely a lead by example type person. And so when I'm working with my clients and business partners, I'm always telling them to align with things that align with their mission and their vision. I mean, I feel like that's the best way to build compatible relationships. Why work with people when you don't have the same synergy, or you don't have the same onsite about life or whatnot, right? It's almost like a marriage. Why would you go get into that type of relationship with someone when you're pretty much going to be bumping heads all the time? And so I view it as the same way with business, aligning with people that have the same mission and vision as me, because I feel like we can work better together that way. There's ways that we can support each other. There's ways that we can get behind each other. And I believe, honestly, my master's, I have some coursework in organizational leadership, and they talked about Workplace 2020, and they told us it was going to look different, and people don't want to work these jobs anymore. And where are they going to go? They have to be a part of a network. They want to learn how to be independent. They don't really know business, but they have a craft. They need to be a part of a system already, which is a network that can help them with their business model while they're still learning about business. And so I feel like it's different.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought that up, because this is going to be another show, because I said for many of us, I say the corporation of the future is actually a fractalization of the entrepreneur. and it's just, and that's what I'm seeing as your business is the interconnective tissue of your other community members. So that means, this one is your fractional CFO. This is your fractional CEO. This is your fractional, CMO. We're getting into the world of where, it's like Elon Musk. He had said to me, he knows himself best. And so he does what he does best so he can bring others in to do their best. And it's so true of what we're seeing now. Corporations are changing so rapidly. It's before our eyes, and AI can't take over. Okay, you're getting me too hot on that. I'm going to go to you here in your book, because that you got my hot streak right there.
I see. I got you going.
Yeah, you did. But Shasta Broadus, your quote is "Follow your dollars."
Oh yeah.
Follow your dollars. And you go, relationships are the true currency in life. And I believe it. I do. Being better stewards of our time and capital as professional consumers is imperative to our financial, mental, and emotional health. Can you believe you wrote that?
I've been told I can be profound at times.
So tell us a little bit about what you wrote here about your thought behind follow your dollars.
Well, like I mentioned, being intentional and entrepreneurship is the breath of the economy. It's on my website, capitalstewardship.org. We are the breath. We are the blood of the American culture. And in order for us to be able to take care of each other, families, we have to support each other's business, and I said, I work hard for my money, and I don't want to just give it to causes and to entities that don't support and believe in the things that I'm doing and being a part of. And so finding other entrepreneurs that I can align with and work with and also support their family is the real true relationship currency that I was referring to. Spending my time and energy with people who care about me getting something. Now, obviously you can get a dividend with stocks and bonds and with insurance and things of that nature, but the people have the money, and if we want them to support us, we need to support them. And so right now there's a shift that's going on, and I'm not trying to do anything. I'm in front of the culture that the shift is happening with how we're going to be able to help each other be better stewards of our capital and support each other's families through networking.
Yeah, and I believe there is something to human capital. We are as much a capital as gold or as bonds or as mutual funds, because
Absolutely.
We are what's behind all of those entities, because they're really made up, ideas that have been institutionalized that allow us to do the one thing that we've always attempted to do as human beings, and that's have commerce, which is the ability to have commerce between people so both lives can become better. And I think sometimes some financial people, they've forgotten a little bit about that, because I always say it in the simplest terms. And this is how I tell my kids: you have salt, I have sugar, we trade with each other and we both become better.
That's right.
And that is the truest form of business, isn't it?
That's exactly right. Absolutely. And while we can buy into corporate, like I mentioned, and get stocks and bonds and things of that nature, that's one form of currency, but also being able to move the dollars, right? And basically replace them with people in your network to support what they're doing and basically change the landscape of what business looks like,
Yeah. And I've always said that the best form of an economy is where money flows at all levels.
Yes.
Not at just the top and
That's
not
right.
at just the bottom. It needs to go through all levels, because then we all become consumers again. And if we can all become consumers again, that means our economy will be driven right again. So I'm going to leave this segment with your question here, and it says, what can you do to follow your dollars to be better stewards of your capital? And I love that alliteration there, steward capital. Got to remember, I'm a poet. It's just like Char's. I look for that stuff. If I see a little alliteration, it's over. I'm commenting on that. So Shar, you are awesome. Shasta, you're awesome. Shar, you're awesome. You're all awesome.
Shar is awesome. You guys, Shasta and Shar.
I know. the anesthesia is still probably in me a little bit, so I'm saying I'm probably a little bit goofier than I normally am on the show, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm having fun, but I'm going to put your information back up over here. Are there other ways that, Shasta, that people can get a hold of you?
Actually, I host events monthly, in-person events, essentially to help bring people together and help them be better networkers. There is a finesse to networking. There is a finesse to personal touch and relationship building, and it's something that has to be emulated and seen. And so my networking events are not like typical networking events, since I am the main business consultant. It's almost like a simulation to bring people together and really get them to start to hone in on that relationship building skills, so that they can begin to grow, so we can grow our network in that capacity. So I'm always hosting events. I want to connect with you, Robert. I know we have some things in the works, but essentially meet me at my 4th Fridays. You can find more information about those on capitalstewardship.org, or also on Facebook at Follow Your Dollars. We're going to be posting those events there, but come out and meet me. Come connect with me in person. I would love to meet you all.
Absolutely. I'm gonna have Char pick me up if my lovely wife can't drive me there, right?
Yeah,
so I hear the trademark already. It's called the Shasta Simulator. That's what it's called. We got it going on.
I'm just thinking, you know what? Honestly, I'm sorry, Robert. I'm just really wanting it to be a place where people can learn and be and do. Right? They don't have a place to do that as business owners, and you can't really teach it. You just got to show it, and you just have to be it. And so I want to be that place.
And that's what the iEntrepreneur Network is. I call it a sandbox for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Everyone needs a place to go so they can grow. And I always say it's all, I said it, everyone deserves to eat and everyone deserves to compete. Just do it nicely.
That's right. Absolutely. And so I want to talk with you more about that too, how we can collaborate and make the network stronger in that way, because I know we can help a lot of people together. All
right. Well, Shasta, thank you so much for being on the show today. You and Char are both rock star. I mean, Char is putting through to the green room. We're going to have the Shasta, Char, and Robert show. And I'm like,
absolutely.
Oh my God, how funny would that be?
I'm ready.
Well, I am ready too. Well, I'm going to end the show now, but, thank you so much, for being here with us. If you have a little bit of time, stay with me and Char afterwards for our after party.
Hey, thank you so much, Robert. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Well, all right, everyone. I had 2 amazing rock stars, Char and Shasta. Who knew? I mean, it sounds like a whole new bubbly that you can get down at Food and Wine. It's like, I want some Char and Shasta, today. So at any rate, my name is Robert Jones. We have this show each and every week on Thursdays from 2:30 to 3:30 Mountain Standard Time. The other half of the year is Pacific Standard Time, but we're in that crazy state of Arizona where we just don't want to do what every other state wants to do, because we have our own time zone. It's called the Arizona time zone. That's why we like it here. Thank you for being with us. Have a safe and wonderful weekend. Until I see you next week, take care.
You've been watching the iEntrepreneur Show, a production of the iEntrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.